Ever get that feeling? You know, that nagging sense deep down that you're capable of so much more, but you're just stuck, endlessly scrolling, watching, consuming? Well, today we're going to dig into a pretty radical idea. What if that isn't just a lack of discipline? What if it's a carefully designed psychological trap?
And this quote, man, it just nails it. This isn't about being addicted to a glowing rectangle. No, we're trapped because we're chasing something deeper, that total, absolute comfort of a mother's embrace, a place where all our worries just melt away. But what happens when that warm embrace starts to feel more like a cage? So how do we get out? Well, today we're going on a 6-part journey. We're going to start by diagnosing this whole digital trap. Then, we'll peel back the layers on the illusion of comfort it sells us. We'll learn to hear that call from our higher self, understand the insane sacrifice that's required for a rebirth, and figure out what it even means to forge a mature identity in this world. And finally, we'll map out a path of constant self-overcoming.
All right, first things first. Before you can escape a prison, you have to realize you're in one. So let's put a name to this digital womb that has us so captivated.
To really get this, we have to go back to an old, powerful idea from the psychologist Carl Jung, the devouring mother archetype. Now hold on, this isn't about blaming your actual mom. It's about a psychological force. It's the part of us and the world that offers endless safety and comfort, but for a price. And that price is your independence. It keeps you in what Jung called a charmed circle, where you're safe, but you never, ever grow.
And here's where it gets kind of spooky. This ancient psychological pattern has found the perfect host in the 21st century, our technology. Right? The endless feeds, the on-demand everything. It's a flawless digital womb. It's a charmed circle, so perfect, so comfortable, we don't even notice the bars of the cage.
And what does living in this digital womb do to us? Well, it keeps us in a state that some psychologists call boy psychology. And this has nothing to do with your age, it's a mindset. It's a state of passivity, of dependency, of always looking for a way around the necessary struggles of life. It keeps you a boy when you could be a man.
This slide lays it all out, crystal clear. This is the battle going on inside of us. On the left, you've got boy psychology, passive, dependent, always running towards comfort. That's the world the digital mother offers. And on the right, that's man psychology, active, self-reliant, actually seeking out challenges. The pull to the left is constant. It's easy. But everything you're capable of becoming, that's all the way over on the right.
And listen, Jung himself warned us how serious this is. This isn't just about being a little lazy. He called it the spirit of regression. It's a pull backwards, into comfort and safety that threatens us with dissolution and extinction, basically the death of our own potential.
Okay, so we know what the trap is, but how does it work? How does this digital mother keep such a tight grip on us? Let's take a look under the hood at the anatomy of this digital womb. Think of these as its tentacles, each one pulling you back into that state of comfort. Convenience apps that make sure you never have to struggle for anything. On-demand entertainment that gives you an instant escape hatch from your own life. Algorithmic feeds that literally learn your weaknesses to keep you hooked. And yeah, even pornography, which offers a cheap, zero-risk simulation of human connection. They all work together to keep us quiet, pacified, and stuck.
And what do all these tentacles create? A perfect little bubble. A permanent holiday from reality, where the real world, with all its friction and demands and difficulties, just kind of fades away. Inside this bubble, we're safe, we're comfortable, and we are going absolutely nowhere.
But here's the paradox, and this is maybe the most important part of this whole thing. That struggle we're so desperately trying to escape, the challenges, the setbacks, the pain, that's the only thing that forges character. That's the gym for your soul. By escaping the struggle, you're escaping the very process that can make you powerful.
What we have here is basically a modern version of Soma, the happiness drug from the book Brave New World. It offers this cheap, easy, manufactured contentment. And what's the price tag? Oh, just your ambition, your freedom, your drive to become something more, all for a quiet, comfortable, placid existence.
And you gotta understand, this system is not an accident. Almost 100 years ago, a guy named Edward Bernays, the father of propaganda, wrote about an invisible government that pulls the wires of the public mind. Well, today, those wire pullers are algorithms. These systems are designed to keep us passive, predictable, and always consuming.
But even inside the most comfortable prison, something starts to stir. A feeling, a whisper that something is deeply, deeply wrong. That, my friends, is the call of your higher self. It's the beginning of your escape. If you've ever felt that feeling, that deep, gnawing dissatisfaction that Thoreau called quiet desperation, I want you to know you are not alone. This isn't some new feeling. It's a timeless, fundamental part of being human.
And here is the most important reframe you can possibly make. That feeling of desperation, it is not a sign that you are broken. It is a signal. It's your unrealized potential, your higher self, sounding the alarm, screaming at you to get out of this comfortable cage and start climbing.
But the second you decide to answer that call, you're going to meet your greatest enemy. The author Stephen Pressfield gave it a name: resistance. It's that voice in your head that comes up with a million excuses. It's the fear, the procrastination, the apathy. It's the voice that says, maybe tomorrow.
Now, this is going to sound a little wild in our modern world, but hear me out. Your anxiety, your frustration, that desperation, they aren't necessarily sicknesses that need to be silenced. They can be curative. They are messages from your own psyche, desperately trying to tell you that the life you're living is too small for the person you could become.
So you hear the call. You feel the resistance. Now what? How do you actually break out of the womb? Well, the path isn't easy. It demands sacrifice, and it leads to a complete rebirth of who you are.
Nietzsche just put it in the most brutal, honest way possible. Real change isn't about adding a few good habits. It's about destruction. It's about burning down your old, comfortable self so that something new, something stronger can rise from the ashes.
This whole process is called a psychological rebirth. It's a massive shift in who you are, and it is fueled by one thing, one non-negotiable ingredient: conscious, willing, painful sacrifice.
So what does this actually look like? Step 1, you have to wake up. You have to see the cage for what it is. Step 2, you make the sacrifice. You willingly give up the apps, the websites, the comforts that are keeping you small. Step 3, and this is the hardest part, you have to endure the chaos, because when you take away the old structure, there's going to be a void. It will suck. But finally, step 4, if you can hold on, you emerge reborn with an identity that you yourself have created.
And Jung totally backs this up. He says that sacrifice is the only way to escape being devoured. You have to willingly give up a part of yourself to save the whole.
We've seen the prison, we've seen the path out. But what are we walking towards? What is the goal of all this pain and struggle? It is nothing less than forging a mature, self-created identity.
And this gets us to a really central question. And just to be clear, we are not talking about some kind of cultural stereotype here. We're talking about a deep psychological ideal.
You know, an anthropologist named David Gilmour studied cultures all across the globe, and he came to a really shocking conclusion. Manhood isn't the default. It doesn't just happen when you get older. It's an achievement. It's a state you have to win against the powerful natural gravity that pulls you back towards comfort and boyhood.
And the tasks you have to complete to win it, they're pretty much universal. You've got to break free from that all-encompassing comfort. You have to build absolute self-reliance. You have to learn to embrace the struggle, to run towards the battle of life. And ultimately, your goal is to create something of value and become the sole author of your own story.
But how do you focus all of your energy on that? Well, Nietzsche gave us an incredible tool, the organizing idea. It's a high, noble goal that you choose for yourself, and it acts like a sun that all your other drives start to orbit around. It gives your entire life a purpose, a direction.
This is what it's all about. You're not a finished product just waiting to be discovered. You are a block of marble, and you are also the sculptor. Your job is to take the hammer and chisel to your own life and carve yourself into the person you choose to be.
And this brings us to our final and maybe most important point. Escaping the digital womb, that's not the end of the story. That's just the first battle in a war that lasts your entire life. This isn't a one-time fix. It's a whole new way of living.
You don't just achieve maturity and then, put your feet up. You don't defeat resistance once and for all. The real goal is to commit yourself to a life of continuous, never-ending growth. A process of always becoming more than you were yesterday.
Nietzsche thought this was the fundamental secret of life itself. To be alive is to be in a constant state of self-overcoming. It's a process. You are always overcoming what you were a moment ago in order to become what you could be next.
And the engine that drives this process is what Nietzsche called the will to power. Now, it's super important to get this right. This is not about dominating other people. It's about the deep, fundamental drive to increase your own capabilities, to master yourself, to constantly overcome your own limitations.
And this is what that life looks like. It's a virtuous cycle. You set a big, noble goal. You don't run from the obstacles, you actually seek out the resistance. By overcoming that resistance, you get stronger. You achieve the goal, and then, and this is key, without resting, you immediately set a new, higher goal, and you start the circle all over again.
And all of this leads to a radical, final redefinition of happiness. Happiness is not comfort. It's not that passive, warm feeling from the digital womb. According to Nietzsche, real happiness is the feeling you get as a byproduct of growth. It is that jolt of electricity you feel when your power increases because you just smashed through a wall that used to hold you back.
So the path is clear. On one side, you have the comfortable digital womb, which offers you security but costs you your potential. On the other, you have the path of self-overcoming, which offers you growth but costs you your comfort. The choice between a life of quiet desperation and one of meaningful struggle, that's on you. We've shown you the door out of the prison. The only question left is, will you have the courage to walk through it?